Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, October 21st edition of the MMAOB Daily podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. You can follow me on Twitter, as always, at @AdamMartin. This podcast is available at MMAOBspoken.com. Go to our YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Also, check me out at bjpenn.com and MMARings.net. So, got quite a bit to talk about today, guys. Obviously, I'm going to be recapping UFC Boston. Got a couple of pieces of news to talk about as well, but let's get right into UFC Boston. Lots to talk about here. I'm going to start with the main event and work my way down. So, very interesting card. A lot to talk about, like I mentioned. Okay, so let's start with Dominick Reyes here. Dominick Reyes picked up a massive win over Chris Weidman. He knocked him out in less than 2 minutes. Great win for him. I did think that he'd win this fight. I should mention I went 8-5 in my pick, so they were okay. There's a couple of dogs I probably should have taken, but either way, it was an okay night. But yeah, for this fight, I expected Reyes to win. I liked him pretty much from the time the fight was announced. Just a really good style matchup for him. A much bigger guy, good takedown defense, better striking, better chin. That's the biggest problem. I'll talk about Weidman in a second. I want to talk about Reyes first. He's looked great, man. 29 years old, the Devastator, good nickname. He's huge. He's one of the biggest guys in the division. Huge reach, huge height. Guys look great in the UFC. 6-0 now. 12-0 in his career. 6-0 in the UFC. 9 finishes. 4 finishes in the UFC. People will talk about that Volkan Ozdemir fight. I personally did score for him, so I think he is a perfect 6-0. And the OSP fight really should have been a knockout. If that referee jumped in and was like 1 second sooner, it would have been a knockout at 4:59 in the third round. So this guy should be 6-0 with 5 finishes in the UFC. He's looked amazing, and I think he is ready for the title shot. He called out Jon Jones after the fight, and to me, it makes sense. I actually did an article over at MMARings.net where I talked about some of the top contenders. So Johnny Walker's another guy I mentioned in the article, and Jan Blachowicz. But to me, Dominick Reyes has a step up on them. There's a few reasons. First off, he's undefeated. That always sells itself. Second off, he called out Jon Jones. He actually took the mic and said, "I want to fight you, Jon Jones." So I love that. And third, he just fought. So the other guys have to fight still. They still have to win. There's no guarantee Johnny Walker is going to beat Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson might have wrestled him. There's no guarantee that Blachowicz is going to beat Jacare Souza. Jacare could very well beat Blachowicz. He could knock him out or submit him. Who knows? If Jacare wins that fight, he'd be right up there too. But I just feel like with what Reyes has done in the division, 6-0 at light heavyweight, and he's increasingly fought tougher and tougher competition. I know Weidman's a former middleweight, but he's also a former champion. It's actually kind of sad how everyone's just kind of shitting on Chris Weidman right now, saying he sucked, he always sucked, always overrated. Listen, the guy's had a terrible run lately, but at his height, he was an amazing fighter. But then you talk about Reyes first, and I'll talk about Weidman. But yes, Reyes, he's, to me, one of the guys that actually can give Jones problems because he matches up with him pretty well physically. The reach is always going to be an issue against Jon Jones. Jon Jones will always have a longer reach against pretty much anyone, but Reyes actually does a similar reach, so that should be somewhat of an advantage compared to some of the shorter guys Jones has fought, like Glover, DC, those guys. The wrestling could be the problem here. I mean, his takedown defense looks pretty good, but he has been taken down a couple times, so maybe Jones will probably take him down if they fight. But there's no one that's going to – I'm not going to pick Dominick Reyes if he fights Jon Jones. I just think that he does present some stylistic matchup problems that some of the other fighters in the division wouldn't. And I've been nothing but impressed with this guy. Jon Jones has to fight someone. He can't just sit around waiting forever. He hasn't fought since July. And he's on Twitter like every day saying, "I want to fight. Where's my fight, Dana? Dana, give me a fight." He wants to fight. So to me, Reyes versus Jones is the next fight to make. Again, Johnny Walker could go and knock out Corey Anderson with like a flying knee and then jump right in the title contention. It's possible, but I just feel like Reyes right now deserves the title shot, and I'd like to see him fight Jon Jones. That's my opinion. You guys could jump in, throw a comment out there. I'd be interested to hear what other people think, but to me, it's a no-brainer. All right, now let's talk about Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman, 35 years old now, and 1-5 in his last 6 fights. I've been fading him the last few fights. That chin is just not good anymore. 5 knockout losses in the last 6 fights. It's very disappointing to see what happened to him. I think that Luke Rockhold fight took he took so much out of him. His chin has just not been the same since that fight. He hasn't been the same in general as a fighter. He has the one win since that against Kelvin Gastelum in a fight he was dropped and came back to win. So it was a good win. I mean, people are forgetting that Kelvin Gastelum is a top 3 middleweight right now. And that was a great win by Chris Weidman. So if he goes back down to middleweight, which Dana White says he might, he's still a top 10 guy just based on that win alone. At the height of his career, he was the best middleweight in the world, and he was one of the best fighters in the world. He beat Anderson Silva twice, knocked him out. I'll never forget that knockout. I'll never forget that one. Anderson, yes, he was clowning a bit and got caught, but still, it was an incredible knockout by Weidman. He also beat guys like Damian Maia. Damian Maia is still a top fighter. Lyoto Machida is still a really good fighter. Vitor Belfort, yeah, he's not the same either, but at the time, it was a good win for him. Vitor coming off a couple wins there. He was that crazy TRT Vitor where he was knocking everyone else. So, the one problem I have with MMA is there's so many fans that will look back in the past and say, well, look at these guys' careers and how they went. They're not good anymore. So a guy like Vitor Belfort, oh, wow, Vitor sucks. He's old. So when Weidman beat him, it's not that bad, good of a win. But at the time, it really was a great win. I mean, Weidman is knocking everyone out. He knocked out Rockhold, Henderson, and Bisping with head kicks. And then he moves up and everything fights Weidman, and then, he loses. But to me, it was still, at the time, a really good win. The Anderson Silva wins at the time were great wins. No one had beaten Anderson in the UFC. No one could touch him, and he beat him twice. And yes, again, he's an aging fighter, but he still beat him twice. The Damian Maia win was a solid win. Mark Munoz was a good win at the time. Lyoto Machida was a good win. That was a great fight too. So I actually feel kind of bad for Chris Weidman because people are just forgetting about everything he accomplished and just looking at his recent record. And it's not good. No doubt about it. It's not good. 1-5 in his last 6 with 5 knockout losses. That's not good. And to me, it's like, at this point, does he retire or not? And I feel like I don't think it's a bad choice if he does, because all those knockouts add up. He's turning into Bigfoot, and I'll talk about him a little bit later in this podcast. But he's turning into Bigfoot a little bit, which is unfortunate to see. But at the same time, this guy still loves fighting, and I feel like he can beat guys. You have to look at the level of competition he's fought. Dominick Reyes, amazing fighter, probably number one contender. Jacare Souza, incredible fighter. Musasi, incredible fighter. Romero, amazing fighter. Rockhold, yeah, sure, Rockhold's done now too, but at the time, Rockhold was incredible. So to me, it's very easy to look back and say this guy's run was overrated and he sucks now. I don't agree with that at all. I just feel like there's so many fans out there that kind of got into the sport new, which is not a bad thing. It's always nice to have newer fans in the sport. MMA is a growing sport, and it's great. I love having new fans to talk to, but you got to put things in context of when it happened. And when these wins over guys like Machida and Silva and Belfort happened, they were the best guys in that division, and Weidman smashed them. So to me, Chris Weidman at his peak was the best middleweight in the world, and there's no debating that. So I'm really confused why there's so many people saying that this guy was always overrated, he sucks. He's not a good fighter anymore because he can't take a punch. I still think the skills are there. I still think he has the wrestling. I still think he has the striking and the submissions, but he can't take a punch. And unfortunately, you can't take a punch, you're probably not going to win too many fights. So, I don't think retirement's a terrible option for him at this point, or at least taking a break for a year or two, maybe coming back then. But, I think this guy has still a future in the sport. I think he'll be a good coach one day. I have nothing but respect for Chris Weidman. I've always liked Chris Weidman. I think he's a really good guy, and he's always treated the media really well. And I just honestly feel it's a little bit sad that people are kind of forgetting everything he accomplished, because at his peak, he was the best middleweight in the world. No one had beaten Anderson Silva. He did it twice, and you can never take that away from him. Even if you say Anderson is washed up now, which he is, you can't forget at the time he was the best middleweight in the world. I'm sorry to answer this question. Marcus Williams, do you think the UFC is banging on Walker to finish Corey Anderson in spectacular fashion? On primetime ESPN has said Walker responds. I did notice, Marcus, they're putting that fight on the prelims, in the main event of the ESPN prelims. So that's huge for Corey Anderson and for Johnny Walker especially. The winner of that fight will definitely be up there. If Johnny Walker goes out there and knocks out Anderson with a flying knee, there's going to be people saying that he deserves a title shot. To me, though, it's like, first off, I did an article on MMA ratings, like I said. I broke down the pros and cons. I love Johnny Walker. When I went to Brazil in May, I had dinner with this guy and his manager, who, by the way, runs Future FC. And I'm sure a lot of you guys saw that flying knee knockout highlight on the weekend. That's the promotion that guy runs, his manager. So those guys are killing it down there. And Johnny Walker is awesome. I love this guy, man. I'll always be a fan of him just because he treated me so good when we hung out. Just a great guy. But, for me, he's only 3-0, and he'll be 4-0. But Corey Anderson is a good win. It's a top 10 win. But the other guys he beat are not really ranked fighters. I mean, Khalil Roundtree, Misha Serkinov, Justin Liddell, they're borderline top 15 guys. Justin Liddett's not even closely ranked, actually. So, to me, he definitely has a chance if he knocks out Anderson. But I just feel like Reyes, with the 6-0 record in the UFC, deserves a little bit more. That's just my opinion. But you know what? I'm not gonna lie, I like highlight real knockouts. If Johnny Walker goes out there and knocks out Anderson with a flying knee or a spinning back fist like he has been, maybe I'll change my tune. But right now, I'd say Dominick Reyes deserves it. I will say that the UFC probably waits another week till that event to see what happens with Jones' next opponent. But right now speaking, Reyes deserves it. In a week, maybe I do change my mind. Maybe we all change our mind. Just depends what Johnny Walker does. And hey, if Corey Anderson goes out there and knocks out Johnny Walker in highlight real fashion, maybe he gets a title shot. I doubt it, but who knows, right? Because he's talked a lot of smack about Jon Jones too. So, anyways, I want to move on from this fight. Again, great win by Reyes. Feel bad for Weidman. Never nice to see a guy's career kind of just fade away like this. But that's the fight game. That's the fight game. You take punishment, you get beat up, and for Weidman, he had his peak and he was the best guy in the world, in my opinion, and now he's not. So it happens. All right, let's go through the rest of the fights here. Co-main event. Yair Rodriguez defeats Jeremy Stephens, unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Good call by the judges here. This is the right call. He won the first 2 rounds. Stephens won the last round. 5-round fight. I think all of us thought the 5-round fight would actually favor Yair and not Stephens. Well, it looks like a 5-round fight was actually going to favor Stephens. So I almost feel like Yair got lucky. It wasn't 5 rounds, but amazing fight. I mean, fight of the night. We all knew this was going to be a good fight, so I don't think anyone's surprised that it was fight of the night. It was an incredible fight, though. The second round, where Yair hit Stephens with that body kick and started pummeling him with ground and pound, I cannot believe Stephens survived that attack. That was unbelievable. Like, that body kick was so nasty. You could hear it when they did the replay. It was so loud, and somehow he survived it. So that dude is just super tough. Jeremy Stephens, very, very durable guy, extremely hard to knock out. I still remember when Yves Edwards knocked him out. I can't believe that. I mean, I think that's the only knockout loss he's ever had. And I remember when that happened. That was the day after he was in jail. Actually, Aldo knocked him out too, but still. Other than that, I mean, that Edwards one, I think his mind wasn't there because this guy's chin is just insane. His ability to take punishment to the body is just insane. But just an amazing fight. Yair looked really good those first 2 rounds. Looked really fast, and he improves his record in UFC to 8-1-1, no contest. So that's a great record. Stephens drops another loss here. I saw someone say that he has the most losses in UFC history, which it's not a record you want to have. No one wants to have that record, but someone has to have the record. And at least Stephens is doing it by putting on great fights. I mean, this guy's still winning $50,000 every time he fights, even if he, is losing. So big fan of Stephens. I mean, great fighter. He's only 33, which is crazy. So crazy. He's like 2 years younger than Weidman. He's been in the UFC since 2007. So you put that in perspective, right? But for Yair, I mean, this guy's special. 27 years old. He's a special fighter, guys. He really is. And, he looks like he's improved his game since that fight with Frankie. I am a little bit worried about the cardio. That's something he's got to work on. And the takedown defense for sure, because he got beat up pretty bad in that 3rd round. And here's the other thing I'll say is some people scored it a draw. I don't know how you scored a draw, because if you give Stephens a 3rd round 10-8, which I guess there's an argument to do that, you have to give Yair the 2nd round as a 10-8 too then. Because otherwise, how could you give Stephens a 10-8 if you didn't give it to Yair? So to me, the scorecards were fine. 29-28 is a good scorecard. But if you wanted, I guess it could have been 28-27 because you could have did 10-8s. But to me, I think 29-28. It's a good call by the judges. Yair deserved to win. I don't see too much controversy here. Now, all right, speaking about controversy, we got to get to this next fight. Greg Hardy, Ben Sassola. I mean, geez. So Greg Hardy wins unanimous decision, and he won the fight. I think it was 29-28 across the board, which was a good call. I think Sassola probably won that 3rd round, but Hardy, he won the fight. So the controversy, obviously, between the 2nd and 3rd round, he asked he actually asked the inspector, "Can I use my inhaler?" And the inspector asked him, "Did you solder prove it or something?" He said, "Yeah, they did." And Dean Thomas had the inhaler's coach and gave it to him when he used his inhaler. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I was like, "You got to be joking! Like, this is automatically a no contest." And he's lucky he wasn't disqualified. The reason he wasn't disqualified is because this dumbass inspector said it was cool to use it. What an absolute moron! And Dean Thomas, great coach at American Top Team, and he was a longtime fighter in the UFC, veteran of the sport. How could he not know? I mean, I'm with Dana White on this one. How could Dean not know that you can't use an inhaler? Like, it's just it's so obvious. Like, why would you be allowed to use an inhaler during a fight? I get the guy might have asthma. You can't do that during a fight. This is not the same as other sports. Other sports, guys are allowed to rest. Football, like, you can rest. Like, when the offense is on your defense, you're resting, or vice versa. Baseball, you're sitting on the bench while your team's hitting and the other team's playing defense. Even hockey, like, you'll take shifts. Soccer, you can sit on the bench at times. Basketball, you sit on the bench when you're tired. Like MMA and boxing and combat sports are just different. If cardio is one of the biggest things in the sport, I'm not 100% sure if the inhaler even gives him a cardio boost. I'm assuming it does slightly or something just to catch his breath, but you obviously can't use it. So to me, there really isn't that much controversy about this. Like the controversy was he used it and it was a no contest. Now it's over, in my opinion. The question was, you saw it says it's the inhaler's allowed in competition, out of competition. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't mean literally during the competition, like in the cage. I think that's the question that some people have. Like, what does in competition mean? I don't think in competition means in the cage, guys. Like, if that's the case, there's other things these guys could be doing in the cage that are illegal, in or out of competition. Using inhaler is not one of them. So to me, no contest is the right call. It's amazing that no one caught that when it actually happened. Bakikawa, they might appeal this with the Massachusetts State Athletic Commission. If they appeal it, it won't go anywhere. Again, the inspector was wrong. He made a mistake, and he said you could use it. It's on him. That's why, Greg Hardy's lucky it wasn't disqualification because that guy said that. Otherwise, he would have been DQ'd. You can't use an inhaler. And again, Dean Thomas, really disappointed in Dean Thomas here. Come on, you got to know that, Dean. You got to know that, man. Anyone knows that, really. I think all of us were just shocked when we saw that. I've seen literally thousands of fights. Never seen an inhaler used in a fight. It's just like Greg Hardy. Controversy comes around this guy like crazy. But, in this case, I think that it was remedied pretty fast. No contest. That's fine with me. Ben Tassoli, by the way, he's got 2 straight no contests. That's weird. You don't see that very often, especially against 2 different opponents. So very strange. But, Greg Hardy, they'll probably treat it like a win in the UFC and they'll move him up. It's time for him to fight someone, I think, in the top 15. But you know what? Based on this performance, I don't even know how he's going to do because he didn't look very good in this fight. It was his worst performance in the UFC, in my opinion. Even the Crowder fight, I think he looked a little better in. But again, we got to remember Greg Hardy's only a couple years in the sport. We can go in and talk about his past and everything he's done that's bad, and that's fair. But I try to choose to focus just on the fighting aspects of him. And as a fighter, I think he's okay, but I think he showed some holes in his game in this fight, and clearly the inhaler that was ridiculous. So no contest, it's fine with me, and move on. Wow, great performance here by Joe Lauzon, guys. 1 minute 33 seconds, smashed Jonathan Pierce. Great knockout here by Joe Lauzon. Took Pierce down and just held him there and smashed him. So I had a feeling this could happen. I just thought that Lauzon might once in a while he'll have these kind of performances like he did against Diego Sanchez at UFC 200 and even Gomi. He has these performances once in a while, but this JSP guy, clearly another guy from the Contender Series that isn't as good as his record indicates, because at this point in Joe Lauzon's career, you probably should be beating him. But Joe was very motivated for this fight, and coming off 3 straight losses, he really, really wanted to win, and he got the job done. So great for Joe Lauzon. I think he should have won Performance of the Night bonus. Reyes also won one, but I think that's and there's another guy in the prelims that won. I'll talk about him in a second, but I think that Joe Lauzon should have won a bonus for this because I thought it was an incredible performance, and he's talking now. He's not sure about retirement. I think that it's not a bad thing to go on top ever. And he's only 35, but he's an older 35, and he's taken a lot of damage. He's been in the UFC a long time, since 2006. 13 years in the UFC, a lot of finishes, a lot of bonuses. He's a borderline Hall of Famer, I think. Dana White loves the guy, so I think he is a borderline Hall of Famer. I mean, his record's not great, obviously 28-15. It's not a great record, but I just think based on the way he finishes fights, and he's one of the guys with the most bonuses in UFC history. So great performance here by Joe Lauzon. Back the clock, but hopefully he doesn't stick around too long and think that this win's going to keep him, as a contender or something like that. It was a good win, but I don't want to see this guy get knocked out anymore. So I don't think retiring is a bad idea, but he might want to have another fight just because this is such a great performance. Next up, Macy Barber defeats Jillian Robertson via TKO in the first round. Great performance here by Macy Barber, and she is just fantastic. Big fan of Macy Barber now. 8-0 now, 7 knockouts or submissions, so she's just fantastic. Robertson she's a good fighter. I mean, she's got a good ground game, but that stand-up wasn't very good in this fight. And by the way, good stoppage by the ref. She didn't fall down, but she was taking so much punishment and not answering, so good stoppage. AC calls out Paige Van Zandt after the fight. Great call out, in my opinion. I love that. Some people are like, oh, well, Paige isn't ranked as high, but it's still it'd be a big fight for her. And yes, she does want to fight for the title, and she wants to fight Valentina, but I think she's got to take these steps up. And I think Paige is a better fighter than Jillian Robertson. I don't know why she isn't. I mean, Paige has more fights in the UFC, and I know Jillian has those submission wins, but I think Paige is a better fighter with more experience. So I actually do think that's a step up. It's the right step up. I think Macy would win that fight, and then she could fight a top 5 opponent like Chukagian or I or someone like that, and then she gets the title shot. I think she's 2 wins away at this point. She's super young still, guys. She's 21. There's no point in rushing her to Valentina. I know she wants to break that record, but she still needs another fight or two. So great win by Macy Barber, and I'm a big fan of her. I've always liked her. And I think she's going to go really far in the sport. I think she has everything that the UFC wants in someone that they can promote as a star. She's got the look, she's got the fighting skills, and she's got the mic skills as well. So she's the total package, in my opinion. Also on the main card, Darren Stewart defeats Darren Win via split decision, 29-28, 28-29, 29-28. You know, of all the underdogs in the card, this is the one I do regret not going with, because I just felt like the size would be a huge issue here, with Win only being 5'5" and Stewart being a really big middleweight, 6'0", and having a long reach. I felt like that was going to be an issue, and you know, that's the one I regret in the card. You know, it's always easy to say, oh, I should have picked this guy, or I had a feeling he'd win, but this is the one I actually do regret. So I should have picked Stewart here. I thought he had a really good chance to win this fight, and he gets the job done. It's a close fight, but I think, you know, Darren Win, he just wanted to wrestle, and that's not enough. You got to do some damage too, and Stewart did more damage and deserved to win. Let's go to the prelims now. Charles Rosa defeats Manny Bermudez via verbal submission, first round armbar. Now, great performance by Rosa, and he gets a bonus, but there's a video floating around where you can clearly see he put his toes into the cage to hold the submission. So that's cheating, and the referee didn't see it, and it's amazing the UFC rewarded him with $50,000 for that when he cheated. I don't blame him for doing it. The referee didn't notice, so why not? But at the same time, how do you reward a guy with $50,000 when he did something that's against the rules? That's really dumb, in my opinion. Like, Joe Lauzon should have got that bonus, or at worst, Macy Barber. I don't know why Rosa got it. I know Bermudez came in overweight. Maybe the UFC just wanted to reward him for that, being an overweight guy. But, you know, I don't agree with that. Again, you guys want to throw a comment in. I'm curious to hear what people say. But I think when you put your toes in the cage and you win that way, I don't think you should be rewarded for that. So, anyways, good win for Rosa, though. I mean, he hasn't fought in 2.5 years. To get that win is huge for him. And for Manny Bermudez, 2 straight losses now. It's really sad what happened to this guy. I mean, I thought he was going to be a contender for a while at 135, and then he moves up to 145. I felt the same way, and he loses 2 straight fights now, misses weight at 2 different weight classes. UFC might keep him around because he is a very talented young guy, but he's got to go back to the drawing board. 2 straight losses now, and hasn't looked very good. So, Manny Bermudez, solid fighter, but the weight issues are a huge problem. And maybe the UFC says, hey, come to the PI and we'll work with you and try to get this cleaned up, because it's clearly an issue. Next up, women's flyweight belt, Molly McCann defeats Deanna Belbita, unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-26, 30-26. Just stupid matchmaking here. I think you guys are all going to agree with me on that. Dumb matchmaking. Molly McCann coming off 2 straight wins over Lipsky and Castawarer. She should have been fighting a ranked opponent, fights a newcomer that no one's ever heard of. Let's be honest. None of us have heard of this girl before she came to the UFC for this fight. None of us had. So just a weird matchup. And Belbita, she's very young too, 23, and she goes and fights Molly McCann, who clearly is a very good fighter at this point. Dumb matchmaking. You know, I think Sean Shelby and Mick Mayer do a good job, but this is the one fight that I just don't understand. Don't understand the matchmaking here. So weird matchmaking. McCann gets the win, but it's like, does it really do anything for her? I don't know. Next up, Sean Woods defeats Kyle Bochniak. Unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-27, 30-27. Yeah, I mean, good performance here by Woods. And, you know, he didn't look that great in the contender series. He got the win by flying knee. I know that, but he didn't really look great in that fight. He looked really good here, though. Bochniak, you know, very tough dude, walks forward the whole time, but I think that really hurt him. I mean, I get what he wanted to do for the game plan. He wanted to pressure Woodson and kind of take away that reach advantage. It didn't matter that Woodson was just so fast and elusive, was just able to keep picking up hard as he walked forward. So Bochniak really should have tried a different game plan here, but unfortunately, he just wasn't. He didn't have it in this fight, and Woodson, that reach really helped him out. So good win for Woodson. For Bochniak, 2-5 now, 3 straight losses. He's an exciting guy, but he probably does get released after this. Maybe he gets one more, because the one fight against Zabit was an incredible fight. And the Duwada fight was close, but still, you know, you got to win fights at some point. And at this point, he's just struggling really bad to get his hand raised. Next up, Randy Costa defeats Boston Salmon via knockout first round. Another fight that I was kind of like just flip a coin about. Costa gets the win here. Great knockout by him. Boston Salmon, just not UFC caliber, 2 straight losses by knockout. But for Costa, big win for him. Saves his job, obviously, as well. Sean Brady defeats Corey McGee in a welterweight bout, 29-28, 30-27, 30-27. Good performance by Brady. I mean, McGee is very durable and very tough. It's very hard to finish him. Only Ponzinibbio's did it. So very tough guy, but, you know, 1-4 in his last 5. and he's 34 years old now. He might be released. I think he is a good gatekeeper, though. I think he's perfect for this job of fighting these newcomers or younger guys. Brady looked pretty good. Not his best performance. We've seen him look better in the regional scene, but still, go in there and get your win. First win in the UFC against McGee is a solid win. So good for Brady. Next up, Brandon Allen defeats Kevin Holland by rear naked choke. This is one underdog I actually did pick, and Allen looked really good in this fight. Second round submission. Holland, snaps his win streak, three-fight win streak before this. But again, some of those wins were kind of questionable in my opinion. And he's still a solid fighter, but Allen, 23 years old, very, very good fighter. And he called out Eric Anders for a rematch. Don't know if that happens, but he wants to get that win back, and there's nothing wrong with that, or that loss back, I should say. And finally, open up the card. Tanner Boser defeats Daniel Spitz, unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. Daniel Spitz, 1-3 now in the UFC. He's going to be released. Non-UFC caliber fighter. And Tanner Boser, you know what? He played it safe in this fight. He did what he had to do. He got the win, but I wasn't super impressed. He's definitely a very technical guy and a very solid fighter, but I think to make waves in the UFC, you got to finish people, or at least be a little bit more aggressive. So I get it. You want to get his first UFC win. He didn't want to do anything stupid, and you know what? Good for him. He's cruising, and it's not like Spitz did anything to for him to get caught. He just kind of laid back, and Boser did what he had to do, but still, he did play it safe, and I don't think there's anything wrong saying that. All right, a couple other things here. Piece of news. Antonio Silva was fighting Gabriel Gonzaga and bare knuckle and got knocked out again. Just really sad. I don't think Bigfoot needs to fight again. I actually saw an interview with him with Guillermo Cruz on MMA Fighting, and he said that all his medicals were cleared, his brain scans were good, and he felt like he said he felt like a teenager again. That's just crazy to me. It's such a lie. Who is telling Bigfoot to fight? I know he wants to make money. I get it, but it's honestly super dangerous at this point. The guy keeps getting knocked out every fight. His last 10 fights in MMA, he went 1-9 with I think 8 knockout losses, and he also got knocked out in Glory. Now he's been knocked out in bare knuckle. The guy's just his chin. He has the worst chin in MMA. There's no question about it. And we're probably the worst chin in combat sports. You punch him on the chin, he's done. So Bigfoot needs to retire. I don't want to see this guy fight. There's nothing that I enjoy about watching him fight anymore. You just know he's going to get finished. And Gonzaga, good win for him in bare knuckle. It's crazy, the betting line. The betting line actually, I think, opened Bigfoot as the favorite. And it closed, I believe, minus 130 Gonzaga. So he was still a very small favorite, which is crazy. And that was essentially free money because Bigfoot's chin is just so bad. Kelvin Gastelum talked about Darren Till talked about the Kelvin Gastelum fight. And he said that, again, Dana White didn't want to take this fight, but he told Dana White, I want the hardest fights possible. And you got to respect that. I mean, I think a lot of us are a little bit sour on Till right now, coming off the 2 straight losses. And really, it should be 3 because he lost to Wonderboy, too, let's be honest. He obviously lost to Woodley, obviously lost to Masvidal. But I respect a guy who wants to take hard fights, and I respect a guy who says, you know what, I don't care if I lose on my record. I just want to have the toughest fights and the best challenges. So I respect the hell out of this guy, actually. Good for him. I mean, he's another guy that's had some issues outside the cage, but and inside the cage as well. But still, you got to respect him. And that fight is coming up very soon. Also, the odds have dropped for that whole card, UFC 244. Very close odds. Right now, minus 165, Gastelum, Till plus 135. Just a great fight. And again, the odds have dropped for that. A couple, they're not really fighting out there. I guess the rumors. Nasrat Haqparast is on his Instagram. He says he's a top 15 opponent lined up for a January date. So first off, I don't think we have any dates yet for the new year. So it looks like there's going to be a card in January. I believe it was the 18th, if I'm not mistaken. He'll be fighting a top 15 guy. I don't know who that is. We could speculate though. Let's pull up the top 15 here. Haqparast has obviously looked really good in the UFC. I think looking at the rankings, you got Islam Makhachev, Alexander Hernandez, Charles Oliveira. I think those 3 guys, probably one of those 3 that he'd be fighting. I think Hernandez versus Haqparast, that makes a lot of sense. That'd be a good one. And the other thing I want to mention here, Conor McGregor, he's teasing a fight announcement as well. Apparently there's a press conference in Moscow, and McGregor's going to be there. And I think all of us are hoping it's not a Khabib fight. I wouldn't put it past the UFC, though, if they couldn't work out the fight with Tony. Maybe it is McGregor getting that rematch, but he doesn't deserve a rematch with Khabib. How? He hasn't fought in over a year, and he doesn't have a win since then. It doesn't make sense. But still a big name, obviously, but I don't know. I just feel like McGregor, he's got to get a win. He's got to fight someone, get back to the cage, get some cage time, and get a win. But, yeah, I think that's it. I don't know. That's it, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me today on the podcast. And I'll be back tomorrow breaking down MMA. You guys can follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. This podcast is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Go to our YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe. Check me out on djpen.com, MMA Rings. Guys, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.